Hello and welcome to the WTF podcast with The Flow. My name is Stephanie Babane and I'm here to help answer all of your WTF questions when it comes to all things related to spirituality, mindset, and the metaphysical. I'll answer your what the F, who the F, where the F, when the F, why the F, and even though it doesn't start with a W, the occasional how the F questions that you might have upon entering the world of personal development and embarking on a spiritual journey. Ultimately, my hope and intention is that at the end of every single episode, you leave smiling and understanding a little bit more about yourself and how to live a happier life in the flow with this miraculous, infinitely expanding, all-loving universe that we all call home. I love you. Let's effing do this. What the F is up, my friends? Welcome back to the WTF podcast, or welcome if it's your first time listening. Regardless, I am so happy you're here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for taking the time to put this podcast on and listen and ask questions and hear answers to questions that you maybe didn't even know you had. If this is your first time tuning in, I definitely recommend going back to the first few episodes so that you kind of have an idea of what it is that I'm going to be talking about for this episode. However, you don't really need to. It's not a prerequisite, but it would be helpful. So just that little tidbit right there. Before I get into today's topic, I just wanted to share that I have officially, as of a few minutes ago, created a Facebook group for this podcast. I was thinking about it. Maybe I even mentioned it in one of the episodes that I wanted to create a space in which listeners could ask questions, have conversations. And I'm sure down the road, I'm going to post videos and little tidbits here and there in the group. So that's the update for that. And something I want to share about doing that is, first of all, I've never created a Facebook group ever in my life. I've never created one, particularly outside of like an event. You know, if I was having my birthday party, I'd create a group for my birthday party and that's it. I've never created one in which I'm starting, I guess, a community and one that I need to maintain. So it was really uncomfortable for me to do that. And even more uncomfortable was inviting my Facebook friends into it. And I didn't even invite everyone because I don't know how to. It like makes you go friend by friend by friend to invite them. There's no like select all. And we've all been that person where we just receive like some random Facebook group invite from someone we've talked to like twice or haven't talked to in years or whatever it is. And God knows there are so many Facebook groups, at least that I'm in, that I don't really participate in much, but needless to say, I created one. And what comes of it will come of it. It's just something that I decided to do to push myself out of my comfort zone and also to put myself on the hook with this podcast. I already am on the hook. I have every intention of keeping it going and creating it. But there's something to be said about doing something like a Facebook group, something that you're uncomfortable with that keeps you, for lack of a better word, obligated to keep showing up and committed to keep showing up. Like, well, you're on the hook. You have to do it now. There's no way out of it. I mean, there is. It's just, there is, but not going to be as easy, not going to be a great feeling. So this is just my way of putting myself on the hook and being more productive in this podcast, you know, being more efficient in my recordings, putting out better quality. And part of the way that I do that is by receiving feedback. So if you are a regular listener, thank you first and foremost. And also please feel free to give me feedback. If you think that the sound quality shit, tell me the sound quality shit. If you don't know what the F I'm talking about still, let me know. Any and all feedback for me is good. Ideally, please like kind of be nice about it if you can, but you know, I don't really take anything personally. If you're not going to be nice about it, then let's have a conversation. What's going on inside? I'm here for you. seriously. But really and truly, any and all feedback helps me grow, helps me put out better content, better quality, which ultimately is for you. I'm doing this for you who's listening right now. Yes, it's satisfying for me. Yes, I enjoy it. Yes, I love it. But I'm not the one, I mean, I listen to it, but I want to give. I want to put out value. I want to put out content that is going to benefit the person listening to it. So thank you in advance for helping me grow by letting me know what you think. And okay, with that being said, I will now jump into the topic of today. The title of today's episode is What the F Are the Laws of the Universe? So, in previous episodes, you've heard me mention a few here and there of laws in the universe. I think I mentioned the law of vibration, the law of opposites, the law of attraction. So, I'm going to tell you all of them. There's 12 that I'll be explaining. I'm going to tell you all of them, but I'm going to explain them separately. And most likely, I'll split them up into separate episodes because there's 12. And I could give brief explanations of each of them, but I think it's more beneficial to go a little more in depth into each one, because what I found as I study these laws more is I'm like, oh yeah, like duh, this is life, like for sure. Some maybe not. Some may not resonate with you based on your beliefs, based on your perspectives of the world. But I've come to know that these are pretty real laws, just as real as the law of gravity. So one thing I want to clear up is when I say laws, these are not laws that like if you break them, you're going to hell or something, or you're in trouble in any way. It's not that kind of law. It's a law like the law of gravity. It's what goes up, right? So law of gravity is what goes up must come down. And it's not something that you can turn off. It's on all the time. It's happening all the time. Gravity is always in effect. And we believe in gravity because there's proof of it. We can see it in our physical world. Like no one's floating away unless like except balloons, obviously. So these laws are not necessarily ones that we can see, but they are impacting us and they are being used at all times. So you're either using them for you or you're using them against you, but they're always working. They're always happening. Okay. So what the F are the laws of the universe? The 12 universal laws are the law of divine oneness, the law of vibration, the law of correspondence, the law of attraction, the law of inspired action, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, the law of cause and effect, the law of compensation, the law of relativity, the law of polarity or opposites, the law of rhythm, and the law of gender. Today, I'm going to be going into 3, depending on the time, 4 of these laws. See how the flow goes. So, I've mentioned bits and pieces of each of these laws. Even when I think about things that I've talked about in past episodes, right off the bat goes into the first law. So the first law that I'm going to talk about is the law of divine oneness. This is one of those laws where, again, I can understand how it may not be something easy to accept based on your way of living or the way that you were brought up. But I'm going to explain it regardless. And I just ask that you listen with an open mind. So the law of divine oneness is the first and most foundational law of the universe, and it states that we are all connected. Back in one of my previous episodes, I talked about where the F we come from. And I talked about how we are basically all an extension of the universe. We are all the sum parts of the universe. So I think I referred to the Big Bang. So if you think about the Big Bang and how it it exploded into infinite pieces, essentially. We were parts of that explosion. The universe expanded and created us. So we are extensions of it. We are fractional pieces of the universe. And when you put us all together, right? Math, you add all those parts together, we make one whole. That's why you'll always hear in conscious circles and people into mindset and things of this nature will say we are all one, we're all connected, because we all come from the same source. Again, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in energy, whether you believe in science, I think it's safe to say we can all agree that wherever we came from, one specific thing is the origin of where we came from. That's why it's called source energy to a lot of people. This one grand energy source is what created us. So the law of divine oneness states that, but really goes into the fact that because we're all one, we all impact one another. We all affect one another. It goes into really saying, like, there is no separation between you and I. You and I are the same. You and I are one. Because we came from this one same energy source, we're made of the same stuff, we're made of the same thing. It's impossible for us to be separate. It's impossible for us to not be a united force. What we believe is that we are separate. That's something that the metaphysical text that I mentioned in past episodes, A Course in Miracles, talks about, which is we've accepted this tiny idea that we are separate. And that really is the cause of all problems in the world, is really just this belief that we're separate and we're not one. And it's really hard to accept that, because you could be, you could have an experience with a person where you were like, that is not me. I am not that person, because that person is an asshole or whatever it is. I even, like, right now in this moment, I'm thinking of a friend that I have, and she considers herself a very spiritual person. And we were talking about a specific politician that she's not a fan of. And she went out of her way to say, he is not a reflection of me. He is not, like, no, whatever it is, like, he's not. And I laughed and I listened and I kind of just said, but, like, he is. And I know that's a hard thing to accept, but even the people that you view as the shittiest in the world are still a part of you. And what the law of divine oneness states is that when you hurt, I hurt. And when I hurt, you hurt. Or when I do well, you do well. So it really emphasizes the need to give each other love, kindness, compassion, because everything in the universe is rooted in love. When we accept this tiny bad idea, according to A Course in Miracles, that we are separate, that we're not one, that's when fear comes in. That's when we start to find ourselves hating each other, basically. So the practice here, as challenging as it might be based on the way that we have been conditioned to live, is to send love to everyone that comes across your path. Everyone, even the person who pisses you off. Because there's a saying that hurt people hurt people. And the same goes for healed people or happy people. Help people be happy. I don't know. Or heal people. The same goes for the opposite, is what I'm trying to say. So when someone is hurting you or not treating you well or right, it's so important for you to really understand that it's not personal. Even, and I say this all the time, and I'll probably create another episode specifically on this about how nothing is personal. Even if the person goes out of their way to look you in the eye and say, I did this to hurt you, and this was personal, that statement in itself is evidence that it wasn't personal. Because why the fuck would any happy person, any person who feels good and content with themselves and life, go out of their way to hurt somebody else? And I am not saying that it's okay for them to do it just because they're not happy with themselves. I'm not saying that like they could just do whatever the fuck they want because they're not happy. No. What I'm saying is that because you have this understanding that nothing is personal, because this person's hurting, and because you are one, you have the ability to send love to that person. When you send love to that person, they are actually receiving it. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's there. Love is a feeling, but we believe in it. We can't see it. We can consider, I guess there's evidence. What does love look like? That's a different thing for everyone. What is it? A hug? Is it a kiss? Is it doing someone a favor? I mean, there's a whole book on love languages. Love is not something you can see. It's something that you can feel, but we still believe that it's a real thing. Why can't we send it to someone and believe that they're actually receiving it, even if they're at a distance? The law of divine oneness very clearly states that we are one. And when one hurts, we all hurt. We are not separate. And that just is so evident. I mean, miserable people spread misery. Happy people spread happiness. So why not help lift up the people who are miserable? Because, and of course, if you can, like always try to lift someone up. This actually comes to something called the impression of increase, which I will also talk about. But I think that's a good enough explanation of the law of divine oneness. And again, feel free if you have any feedback to let me know if you want me to talk more about it. The next law that I want to go into is the law of vibration, which I think is a nice segue from what I just talked about with the law of divine oneness. And I've mentioned the law of vibration in the last episode talking about manifestation. The law of vibration states that everything in the universe is in constant motion, vibrating at a specific frequency. All matter and all people vibrate on a frequency. And this frequency is what can inform our lived experiences, what can impact the experiences that we have in life. If you look under a microscope, I don't care if it's your hand or a table, you will see that it's vibrating. And what's actually happening is that it's moving at such a rapid rate that it appears solid. And I know I'm saying this, but I fully can't even wrap my head around that something can move so fast that it actually seems solid. There's actually also an opposite in that something can move so fast that you can't see it at all. There's infinite frequencies that we can vibrate on. We, as people, come to understand our frequency through feelings. Feelings is a word that we invented to describe the vibrational frequency that we're in the moment. It's also our intuition. The law of vibration is used through our intuition. So when it's how we go about doing things, right? Like everyone has an experience where intuitively they just knew that they had to go here, do this, say this thing. They didn't understand why, they just had a feeling. We have many different emotions, but Abraham Hicks has one, I can't remember the name of it right now, but they basically have a list of emotions on that establish different frequencies. I believe there's 22 or 23. And the highest vibration that you can be at is love and joy. That's when you're vibrating at a high frequency. And when I say high frequency, I mean that you and your beingness are vibrating at a rapid rate. The lower frequency, so it starts to go down, the lowest frequency that you can experience is fear. One of the things that you can invite in that is going to be a lower frequency that most often of us can understand is doubt and worry. So when I was talking about manifestation, I was talking about how you need to get on the same frequency of what it is that you want by getting into the feeling of what it would be like to have that thing and create that feeling now. So I talked about a yacht in the last episode, but let's try to think of another example. So let's say you want to go on a vacation. That's just the first thing that came to my mind. You want to go on a luxury vacation to a very specific place. You got to be specific. You have to think about what it would feel like to be on vacation where you want to go. Then, based on that feeling, let's say you'd feel really relaxed, really prosperous, really grateful. Okay, you need to feel that first. You need to do things that are going to recreate the feeling of gratitude, prosperity, relaxation. You could do that through visualizing, something that I'll talk about, of course, in another episode, which you should do. Honestly, it's one of the best things that you can do. But you can also just do it in other activities where you know this makes me feel grateful, or just writing down what you're grateful for. Doing this makes me feel prosperous. Paying attention to the abundance around me makes me feel prosperous. Taking a bath makes me feel relaxed. Whatever you can to stay in that constant vibration. That's the most challenging part, is that you need to maintain the level of vibration as often as possible. Your thoughts have a vibration. Your words have a vibration. So the thoughts that you're thinking, if you're having a negative thought, that's a negative low vibration thought. If you're thinking a positive thought, that's a high vibration thought. This is all done through conscious awareness and practice. So please keep that in mind. Something else that I learned working with a woman named Michelle Alva, shout out, I love you, Michelle, if you're listening, is, and I learned this in my mentorship program too, but I learned it from her first, I would say, is the frequency that we're vibrating on also affects our health and the pain that we experience. So pain is essentially stuck energy. It means that your body is not vibrating in harmony the way that it could be with life. Same if you're experiencing anxiety, same if you're experiencing dis-ease. You'll hear that very often once you enter the healing world. It's not just disease, it's dis-ease. It means that your body is not at ease, and it's because of either a negative foreign vibration occurring in your body or stagnant energy in your body. Something is not moving or vibrating at the rate that it could be. And that is a whole other subject that I'll get into when I'm talking about healing and trauma and how it lives in the body. But understand that you have the ability to change your vibration at any time through your thinking, through your words, and also through things like movement, like yoga, meditation, listening to music. The way that you lift your vibration is by doing the things that bring you joy, by focusing on the things that make you smile. So literally, if you have a cat or a dog that you love and you're in a bad mood, that means that you're in a low vibration. Want to lift your vibration? Go pet your cat. Go pet your dog. Play a song that's going to make you feel a little bit better. Read something funny. Call a friend that makes you smile. There are so many things that you can do to lift your vibration, and it's pretty custom to you. You just have to know yourself and what works for you. The examples that I gave are things that I think work for most people. They definitely work for me. There are times where I'm like not in a great mood and I start shaking and I feel better. And I start feeling better, one, because I feel silly for shaking, but also because there's a lot that happens when you start to move your body. We know this. We know that endorphins are a thing. There's so many benefits to changing even just the way that you stand. There are numerous studies that show posture has a huge impact on our mood and our confidence. That's all just a shift in vibration. That's just another way of saying your vibration got elevated because you changed your physicality. So Again, an example of how we're all just talking about the same thing and saying it in a different way. So really understand that the law of vibration is one of the main laws in the universe that actually also works in conjunction with the law of attraction. The law of attraction doesn't work if you don't have the law of vibration down. And that's why a lot of people get frustrated with the law of attraction and don't fully understand it. It's because the law of attraction is a secondary law that I'm not actually going to get into necessarily in this episode. I mean, maybe I should now that I just segued into it. I'm going to talk about another law, and I will talk about the law of attraction in a separate episode because this is getting a little bit longer. Uh, the next law that I wanted to talk about is the law of correspondence. Okay, this is a new one, even for me. So, the law of correspondence basically states that whatever patterns repeat throughout the universe and on a personal level are mirrored back in our reality. So, basically, whatever's happening inside is happening outside, which really does go well with the law of vibration. The best way that I can say it is, I mean, there's even a quote, which is as above, so below, as within, so without. So the first thing that comes to mind is chaos, right? Or clutter. So let's say you have a very cluttered home, a very cluttered car, or you feel like your life is very chaotic. That is an indication of clutter in your mind, a chaotic vibration going on in your body. The same is for the opposite. Whatever you think about yourself, feel about yourself, are experiencing inside is going to be shown in your physical reality, in your environment in some way. That even goes with what I said earlier about how my friend was like, this person is not a mirror to me. It's not an easy thing to accept. But one of the things I learned in the very beginning is that any time I am talking to a person and I admire something about them, that's a reflection of me. I can only admire something in someone because of the fact that it lives somewhere inside of me. But the same is for the opposite. If I don't like something about someone else, it's an indication that there's something about them that reminds me of me. There's something inside me that I don't like. And what they're doing reminds me of that, but I don't want to acknowledge it. And so I just say, I don't like them. And I point the finger. But that's what it means when you hear people, including me, say that everyone is a reflection of one another. Everyone is a mirror. Because again, we're all one, right? We're not separate. We're all one. And when you think about vibrations, chaos is a feeling. We feel chaotic or we feel overwhelmed, which is the cause of overthinking a lot of the time. And so that shows in clutter, that shows in chaos. Same goes for if we have very organized thoughts. We feel very good about ourselves. There's many different ways that it can show up. We're very clean, we're very organized, or we have control issues and we feel like we need to control everything and we don't feel safe if things aren't clean. There's so many different ways that we could take it. But the point is that whatever is happening inside of you is going to show on the outside. It's super obvious. You can see some in certain people. You can look at a person and tell if they take care of themselves or not. And if you can see that a person isn't taking care of themselves, that might mean that they just don't feel very good about themselves. And then in other cases, it's not so obvious. It's always better not to make assumptions about people, of course, and never judge a book by its cover. You never know what's going on behind closed doors. We all know that there are people who look like they have it together on the outside and then don't on the inside. But this statement is so, so true because even if those people don't have it together on the inside, maybe they lose patience with people who very clearly don't have it, quote unquote, together on the outside. And that's a reminder of who they are. And it freaks them out. So they reject it and they push it away, or they treat them like shit, or whatever it might be. So I love this because of the fact that it takes away comparison, which is something that is it's the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. It's one of my favorite quotes. Because we look at other people and think, oh, they can do that, but I can't. No. There's literally a law in the universe that says if they can do it, it means you can do it. Because you're mirrors of each other. You can't recognize something in someone if it doesn't exist in you. And so that's a wonderful thing. We just also have to accept that it means we have to face the things we don't like about ourselves too. So that's the law of correspondence. That's the and like I said, it works so in harmony with the law of divine oneness, because another thing that comes with the law of correspondence is that if you want more of something, you need to give it first, basically. So if you want more love, you need to give more love to yourself, for one thing, but to others. If you want more patience, you need to give more patience. It's this giving in order to receive law that goes so nicely with, like I said, sending love to people because of the law of divine oneness. And also love is one of the highest vibrations. So all of these laws you'll see work in harmony with one another. There is intention behind them. This is a universe by design. And it's just so cool. As I talk about it, I'm just like, wow. So I'm going to leave it there. I think 3 laws is more than enough. And in the next episode, I'll get into 3 more, including the law of attraction, of course, the one that we all know. But I've already kind of explained a little bit based on the law of vibration. So let's see if you can start to decipher. And what's the word I want to use? Not decipher. Can't think of the word. Let's just see if you can start to come to conclusions of your own, or theories is really what I was trying to convey. Okay, my friends. Well, thank you so much as always for listening. I hope that you are having a wonderful week, a wonderful day. And if not, it's never too late to turn it around. One of the best things that you could do, actually, if you're not having a good day, is to try to make somebody else's day better, right? Give what it is that you want to receive more of. So do your best. Of course, sometimes we don't have a lot to give. And so if you don't feel like you have a lot to give, don't. But give what you can when you can. And trust that it's going to come back to you. And know that there are so many different tools, right? There's so many different ways to lift your vibration. Go for a walk. Call a friend. Read a book. Whatever makes you smile. Listen to music. Shake. Jump around. Find what works for you. Not saying that sometimes we don't need to cry and scream and hit a pillow. But know that there are ways to bring yourself slowly into a better place, into a better mood, if you choose to. Because it is a choice. It's always a choice. And that's the power that you've been given. That's the free will that you've been given since you were brought into existence. That we were all given when we were brought into existence. All right. I will leave it there. I love you so much. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of the WTF podcast. I hope that you gained all kinds of value from listening and that your WTF question was answered. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow me on Instagram at Coach Stephanie B. If you have a WTF question of your own, or you have any interest in working one-on-one with me, then feel free to send me a private message. And when it comes to your question, I'll do my best to answer it either here or privately. In the meantime, until the next episode, I'm wishing you the most wonderful day, the most wonderful week, and reminding you to smile and then see if you can make somebody else smile. Until next time.